Alright, this is going to be the last video I'm going to make on the iPhone XR up until they release it, okay? Probably. Now, if something else crazy happens, then I'm going to release another one, but until I get the phone in my hands, this is the last one I'm going to do. I know you guys hate hearing me bash on it, but this is not a bash in and of itself, okay? I want to apologize for not wearing a sweatshirt or t-shirt or anything like that, and if you guys don't get that joke, then you guys might be colorblind, but we all know my opinion on the iPhone XR. This is not the iPhone XR, this is a placeholder, but I don't really think it's worth the price that it's at, okay? But that's my opinion, that's me. Mostly has a lot to do with the lack of features. You know, there's the screen in and of itself, the Force Touch lack of it, the single camera on the back. I don't think all those things really add up to the price point that it's at right now. At the same time, I also think it's important, okay? And what I mean by that is I think it has a place in Apple's lineup currently that is kind of filling a need or a void. Now this is where it kind of lies, okay? It's the entry-level iPhone that is kind of faster than last year's, probably. I don't really know yet. We haven't had a speed test, but it's not better than the iPhone X, but from the iPhone 8 and 8 Plus, and it looks better than the iPhone 8 and 8 Plus as well. Now, it is missing some features from those phones, but again, just kind of stick with me. This is where this phone lays. Now, I'm going to put my hand down a little bit because not every single person wants to go out and buy a used iPhone, okay? Now, I bought the iPhone X used, and this is just a small handful of iPhones that I've had. I bought all these iPhones used as well, okay? I love buying used technology. That is where I literally love it. Even though this one has a cracked back, I would not spend full price on any phone at all, okay? But not everybody is like me or you who would want to go out and spend, you know, a couple $100 less on a device. Some people just aren't comfortable going out and going on eBay or Craigslist or whatever and buying a device used. They would rather just go in the store and buy it new. And because of that, throughout the years and all that stuff, people have, like, if people want to go buy an iPhone 8 Plus, they would have to go and wait in line or whatever and then go get it either from their service or from the Apple store or whatever, and they really didn't have a choice. They didn't want to get it used, so they had to wait in line and get it from the store. And those were for people who pretty much didn't want to spend the money on an iPhone X. So what the iPhone XR does, okay, and what the importance it has as a company for Apple and all these other companies and service providers is that the people who don't want to go out and buy a used iPhone X or buy a used iPhone in general, they can still get all those, most of the features and have a decent looking phone that kind of looks like an iPhone XS and XS Max and an iPhone X. Even though you do kind of skimp out on some of those features like Force Touch and all those things, you still retain a good looking phone from first glance, you know? And even though the screen isn't full HD, you will still have more people rocking an iPhone XR than possibly rocking a used other iPhone, for example. And they can upgrade without spending all that much money. Also, people who want to get an iPhone for cheap that still want to get software updates and all those things, instead of Apple not releasing an iPhone XR and just having a 1,000 plus phone every single year, they now have an entry-level iPhone that's still going to be supported for just as long as an iPhone XS and XS Max for people who don't necessarily want to go and get a used iPhone. Now, I know that's kind of weird because this channel is predicated on pretty much used technology, but you also have to remember that not everyone's like me, like I said, and a lot of people have upgrade plans and they have upgrades available, so when their iPhone 7 or 7 Plus or however long it is, their 6S, 6S Plus is done, they can still spend that same amount monthly, like $30 a month, $20, whatever it is, a month, and it doesn't have to shoot up in order for them to get a newer phone. So that in and of itself is a small reason, but one thing I'm mostly excited about for the iPhone XR isn't necessarily when it's released, but more so its future evaluated price, otherwise known as its used price. I don't know why I said it so weird. So when it releases, it's going to be sold for $749, as we all know, right? But I'll say, and this is my opinion, I think I said this before, by the end of 2018, possibly early 2019, I would assume that I'll have to run the numbers again, but I think I ran an analysis and I found that the price would probably go down to around $500, maybe even down to $450. And I put a lot of variables in it, so it's probably not 100% accurate. But I think by February, I planned it that if it depreciates a certain amount every month, you know, because obviously it's going to go down to about 600 by like December, I would imagine. And then maybe by 500 to like February, just because there's going to be so many of them out there. With the iPhone X, they didn't necessarily have a lot of these things out. They sold a lot, don't get me wrong, but they didn't necessarily sell like a crazy amount. So there weren't really necessarily too many iPhone Xs out there. But now, since they're releasing and they're making so many iPhone XRs, people are going to start selling theirs in order to get another iPhone X or something like that. So even though it might be weird, at least it kind of does serve a purpose in my opinion. The iPhone XR is not going to be perfect. It's probably going to be a little bit faster than the iPhone X just because the screen is lower res, even though it's a little bit bigger. But again, I think the main purpose is, it's just upgrades. People just have direct upgrades with their servers, with their services like Verizon, AT&T, whatever. They can just go get an iPhone XR, get a technically cheaper iPhone X or a cheaper iPhone XS and XS Max. And like I said, not everyone feels comfortable going out buying a used device, and people don't want to pay premium. So that's where the iPhone XR kind of lays. Is the iPhone XR a horrible phone? Absolutely not. It serves a purpose. It serves a really good purpose in my opinion, but it's just kind of confusing. It's a confusing situation because people, in my opinion, are going to get it just because it is the cheapest iPhone. And that's why it's kind of a confusing situation, just because the iPhone X is a much better phone, but still people are not going to choose it just because they don't want to buy it used. They'd rather go in the Apple store or get it direct from their services just to upgrade it. So in my opinion, I'd rather have an iPhone X than a XR. But I don't want to say the iPhone XR is a horrible phone. So that's just my 2 cents. Like I said, this is the last video I'm going to make on it until I get it. Unless something crazy happens, unless I have an urge to make another one, then I'm going to do it. But that is pretty much the placement of the iPhone XR, why it's important kind of, and just the situation that it's in and why it's kind of confusing. And that is pretty much it. If you have any questions or anything like that, leave it down in the comment section below. Hit that like button, that'll mean so much. But definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber we get really does count. So it means so much if you guys can hit that. Also check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my second channel, Alpaca, that's also linked down below. Make sure you guys check it out. It'll mean so much. But more importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out, Dylan.